This is the 17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrat. BTL is brought to you by Lawrence, Bass Cat Boats, APCO, Ducket Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. PTL coming at you. Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where Dean and I are going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Yes, it is the Redcrest Watch Party, and my special guest, Mr. Dean Rojas. Dean, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful, Mark. I'd be a lot better if I was on Lake Eufaula right now fishing with those guys. But, you know, watching the live feed the last couple of days, it's been kind of tough, but you know, with the weather warming up, it's going to be great, especially this afternoon. I feel like it's going to really turn on.
All right. Well, I greatly appreciate you doing this. What we're going to do, folks, we will tap into the live feed over on MajorLeagueFishing.com, and Dean will kind of break down some of the action that's taking place. We'll talk a little bit about what happened during the first two days of the event, and then also we're going to have a couple of special guests. We're going to have Luke Clausen on at the top of the hour, and then toward the second half of the show, we're going to have Fletcher Shryock on. So a jam-packed show here. The other thing that's new, folks, if you have the capabilities, and if you're watching on BassZone.com, not on the YouTube feed, I'll try to get the link on the YouTube feed, but there is a link on the live page of BTL on the Bass Zone where you can click on that link, and if you have the capabilities, it puts you into the queue to where you can actually take part in the show if you have a camera and a microphone and obviously everything that goes with that. So trying to make it a little easier for the fans. So if you see the link, it's directly underneath the video feed, and you can join the show if you want to. All right. First things first, got a lot of well wishes yesterday, Dino. The opening round of the playoffs, I got to mention real quick, 19-point victory last night. Big challenge, moving ahead to Game 2. You win 4 games, you're in the state tournament. 1 win down. Thursday night will be an epic battle versus Ada. They were ranked number 4 at the end of the season, so a massive challenge, but it's pretty cool. You work all this time to get to this point. It's kind of like the same thing in fishing. We kind of talked about it a little bit before the show. You put all this effort into the preparation, the homework, the dedication that goes into getting ready for a season. You go through the season, and then you have this championship, and you're trying to win $300,000.
Yeah. Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
So most of you don't know, I've been to Mark's basketball game when he's coaching the kids. It is, isn't it? It's a different Mark Jeffries than what you see on Bass Zone, okay? He's got the sweater, the Bobby Knight look, the whole yard, throwing up fingers, this, up, like that. I mean, the kids are like zooming in. It is amazing to watch Mark inside his realm of the Bass Talk Live, and to see him go that. So we went to a little high school there in Oklahoma that one night with Panger and Dave, and what a great night that was. That was fun.
Yeah, that was very, very cool. That was actually in a very small town, of which when we walked into the gym, you got hit up and people recognized who you were, and that was really cool for being in the little bitty town that we were in Lindsay, Oklahoma. So that was quite memorable, and it was good that you got a chance to see me coach a little bit there, Dino.
Yeah, because I was incognito. It was cool that night. I remember. So
yeah,
of course Matt was there, and Matt, and but he's like, "Oh God, Rojas again. We can't go anywhere," that sort of thing. But it was fun, and it's cool to see the expansion of professional anglers and the notoriety and stuff that goes with that. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's cool stuff. All right, let's do this, Dino. Let's kind of set it up. 2 days into it, the cut yesterday. It seems a little stingy. How would you describe and kind of set things up based upon your experience and your opinion of what's taken place during the first 2 days of action?
Well, the reason why it's stingy, last week I was at Guntersville fishing the Toyota Series, and it was 18 degrees, and that's only like 5 days ago. So
yeah,
that weather front cooled everything down. Whatever momentum it had going up to that point got shut down. So it's almost like a reset button, if you will, to where everything just kind of stopped, and then now it's starting the trend of warming up. And as you saw the last couple days, the first morning they had clouds. They had a front come through. It was warm. The guys caught them really quick, first period, and then it tapered off, and then it kind of picked up in the afternoon a little bit. But that major feed came in the morning. Yesterday, totally different days. Blue skies, no wind at all, high pressure, but the temperatures are getting warmer. And today it's going to be in the 70s there, and it's going to continue to get warm all the way through the week. Plus, they've got another front coming in too, which will get them going, biting again as well.
All right, we're going to go ahead and go to the feed. Let me get it pulled up here. They're on David Dudley right now. But let me ask you this, Dino. There was a lot of strategy in play for the guys that were on top of the leaderboard. And that is obviously a big difference that takes place during events where you're way, way out. Really, no doubt that you're going to make the cut. The battle was in that lower tier on who was going to make that 20th spot. But what was really, really cool, as Dean goes away, and I'm going to continue, what's really cool is the fact that you had guys that were actually trying to find other stuff while still competing. And we'll try and get Dino back here in a minute as we watch David Dudley. All right, looks like he's back now. You back, Dino?
Yeah, your audio is breaking up really bad, Mark.
All right, here. We'll try clicking on the link one more time.
Okay, you're clear now. I can hear you.
All right, you got it?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, your volume is a little low. I don't know if you can turn your mic volume up. The fans are saying that your mic volume's a little low.
How's that? Can you hear me better now?
It's about the same. We'll get this dialed in as we watch David Dudley.
How about now? Is that better?
That's a little better. You might have to talk a little louder.
Okay.
All right. So just crank up the volume. I know that's easy for me to do. So just talk a little bit louder. Anyway, we were kind of talking about how the strategy that was involved once pretty much in your mind and really in reality, you secured a spot over the cut line to, I don't want to say practice, but that's kind of what it is. It's more of searching and trying to find maybe something that may not be there, something maybe that you didn't try during practice because of the limited practice time. The other thing is, too, is the strategy of not beating up the fish that you found. Is that true?
Yeah, and you saw that. Yeah, and you saw that yesterday with Ott Defoe just and not, fishing the area. And kind of taking a drive through with that, just to, see what's going to happen. And then, today, obviously, going back there. But those top 10 guys that you saw there in the standings after the first day, nothing really changed. Those guys moved on to the next round. So, and half of them are here today. So that they're just managing their fish. And, and the fact that they only had 1 day of practice and the conditions are changing daily, that they have to, it's very important to practice. Watching Brian Thrift yesterday, same type deal where he was just out, looking around, but eliminating a lot of water. And in this format, you have got to go to your juice right now. I mean, it's not like, hey, let's, try and figure something out. When it's in the heat of the battle like it is right now for these 10 guys, they're on their juice right now. I mean, they are on the stuff that got them to that round and to where they can, finish in that top 5. So that is exactly where you want to be at. You don't necessarily have to win the round, but you just need to make enough or catch enough to move on to the next round, to the final round.
Yeah. All right, Dean, you watched a lot of action yesterday. What are the characteristics that you feel like that the lake, from a condition standpoint? I saw a lot of shallow water. I saw a lot of offshore stuff that was going on, and we're losing his feed once again. His internet connection must be a little dicey. Here, now he's back. Dino, you there, man?
Okay. Yeah, it's breaking up really bad, Mark.
All right.
I mean, you're real choppy. You're real choppy. Everything else is fine. It's just real choppy.
Okay. All right, we good now?
You're breaking up really bad on that. Yeah.
It's got to be your internet connection on your end. So it's all good, man. We'll roll through it. If that happens again, just do what you did, remove it, click back on the link, and then you're able to go back on the feed. Is it still bad right now?
It's really bad right now, Mark.
All right, go ahead and click on the link. Go ahead and get out, and then click on the link again, and we'll see.
Okay.
We're going to try and get through this. Folks, we do this, as always. We do a test prior to the show, and everything was flawless prior to the show. So now, hey, man, it's technology. Jeez. Hopefully nobody's going to beat me up too bad on this. Now, if Matt was to my right here, we'd have the mojo and everything would be going flawless. I missed the guy already. By the way, I'll go through the remainder of the week tomorrow. Make sure you join us. A special show at 7:30 a.m. Central Time. Tentatively, right now, we're going to have breakfast with Matt and Bradley Hallman. They're going to be at the Spro headquarters, and we will be doing a special show to see what they're up to as they continue their adventure to Florida and get their take on some of the stuff, and hopefully get to see some cool stuff at the Spro headquarters, and they might even have a guest or two on that. So we will continue to try and get – you're not going to miss any of the action. They're rolling commercials right now over on Major League Fishing. So we will wait for Dino to come back. And then on Friday, once again, we're going to have actually on Thursday, let me back up a minute, after breakfast with Matt and Brad, then we're going to have our normal day 4 with Frank Scalish, of which that'll crank up at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Friday, we will have the Bassmaster Elite Series watch party from Knoxville. And if you want to take part in that, shoot me an email, mark@basszone.com, or I'll have that link available over on basszone.com to where you can just click on the link as long as you have all of the equipment necessary to be able to be part of the watch party. And then wrapping things up, we'll take a day off on Saturday. Hopefully we win on Thursday and we play at 8 o'clock Saturday night for a chance to have one game to get into the state tournament that following weekend. And then we will have the Elite Series post-game show at 7 o'clock on Sunday. All right, I think we got Dean back now. Dean, you there, man?
Yeah, I'm here, Mark.
All right. Yeah, your internet connection's a little choppy, I can tell. You there? He is sort of kind of there. You there, Dino? You there, Dino?
I'm here. I can barely hear you though, Mark. It's breaking up pretty good.
All right. Yeah, that's your internet connection, man. I don't know. Is there any way that you can do it on something else besides that iPad? Is that possible? Yes? No? Can't hear you? All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a commercial break. How about that? And I'm going to jump on the phone with D. See if we can get this taken care of and go from there. So I apologize, folks. Like I said, man, we test this stuff out beforehand. It was working fine. Technology is a miracle. Anyway, stay tuned. We'll be right back right here on BTL.
Hey Hammer fans, I'm Bill O'Neill, and I'm excited to tell you that the wait is finally over. The Black Widow 2.0 is precisely what you're looking for in a Black Widow. The perfect ball on medium to heavy oil lane conditions with a big sweeping back-end motion that's going to lead to a lot of high scores. Black and red colors pay homage to one of the most successful bowling balls of all time, as we bring back the original reaction shape, updated for today's lane conditions. All right, Hammer fans, that's it for the Black Widow 2.0. Don't forget, check us out on all social media platforms and visit us at hammerbowling.com.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to active imaging and new active target live sonar, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor. For a limited time, building the ultimate fishing system will be easier on your wallet. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, active target sonar, or live sight sonar and save up to $800.
Basscat's legendary 20-foot platform has been paired with angler-approved accessories for 2021. Puma FTD features the proven hull used by many of the top names in bass fishing today, backed by a transferable lifetime warranty. The Puma FTD boasts a full team deck concept which enhances efficiency for you and your tournament partners. Turnkey tournament-winning performance. The Puma FTD SP from Basscat.
Guys, what makes our Spro lures beat the competition?
I mean, you have to admit, we nailed it with my McSticks and rock crawlers.
Man, we've all won money on my plugs.
My Wamic shot put fish in my boat.
One thing's for sure, we all count on our Spro lures to beat the competition.
Designing cutting-edge baits with some of America's top anglers. Spro lures beat the competition. To see the entire lineup, visit a retailer near you or spro.com.
Big companies get bigger and bigger and talk about their fancy labs where they study fish behavior. But then they all go golfing on the weekend. We don't have a large laboratory to test baits. Why, you ask? We don't need a big laboratory because our pros fish, our employees fish, our salespeople fish, our suppliers fish, our mold builders fish, our owners fish, and our kids fish. This is our laboratory. Our R&D comes from time on the water, learning how to make fish bite. All that time on the water brings us thousands of hours of testing new products and improving current ones for all species.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
Pro-inspired, pro-designed. Tested and proven by legends on the water. Dominating the tournament trail for over 50 years. Everything you need, one legendary brand. Strike King.
Hey guys, Major League Fishing Pro Jacob Wheeler here with my new Signature Series line of rods with Duck It Fishing. We have my 7.2 cranking rod right here. Crankbaits can be very fickle, and having the right, having a lot of tip can be too much, and having not enough tip can, lose a lot of fish. So you really got to be careful. If there's one or two techniques that I'm really adamant about having the perfect action is a crankbait, especially like a square bill, a DT6, those medium running crankbaits in the springtime when those fish's mouth are pretty tough. That's when I'm really on top of having my actions just perfect.
Let's face it, Fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
You've been waiting all week for this, and Sunline wants to make sure you're ready for it with bulk spools of all your favorite fishing lines.
Oh, it's so fun.
Bulk up with Sunline.
Utilizing my experience, utilizing my time on the water, evolving as an angler, and that evolution should never stop. You have to do it every day. From when you wake up in the morning, you got to be thinking about changing, continually changing every minute, every cast. That's really the premise of fishing the moment.
Everyone, Brandon Polnick here. People always be asking me what I got tied on. And I'm like, X-Zone lures. And they're like, Brandon, why you got X-Zone lures tied on? And I'm like, let me show you why.
The bite. Get out of there. Get out of there. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's freaking digging. Get in here. Oh, God. Giant. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
I think you get the point.
All right, we are back on a Wednesday, still trying to work out Dean's internet situation. We do not have him back yet, so I'm going to queue up the feed. I think they're on Andy Montgomery right now, and then we're going to wait. At the top of the hour, we're going to have Luke Clausen on. And let's see here. There's the feed. So we're watching Andy Montgomery, and until Dean comes back on, I know he's working on getting another piece of equipment other than his iPad. I'm going to open up the phone lines. I have that capability here in the studio. So if anybody wants to help me out right now and kind of co-host until Dean is able to come back, I'm going to open up the lines. Let's see here. I think I still have the Sunline. Here we go. All right. There it is right there. If you want to call me and help me out until we get Dean or Luke on, feel free to give me a call right now. 405-253-5543. And we'll see if the Sunline hotline is working. Man. Now on Dustin Cannell. I know there's a slight delay. Hey, we've got a phone call. Hey, you're on BTL. Who is this?
Hey, Mark. This is Blake from Georgia. How you doing?
Blake, man, trying to make the best out of what we got here. Dino's having a little internet issue, so I appreciate you calling in, man. What's on your mind?
Well, I saw y'all were talking about KVD yesterday in the show, and it looks like he's starting to show out this morning.
I have not glanced at the leaderboard because I was obviously trying to deal with the issues that we had. Let me look real quick.
I think he's got a 5-pounder last time I checked. But I don't know why they don't have a camera on him.
Oh, he's leading. No? Is he leading? Yeah, he's got a 5-pounder. We'll see about that. It was pretty cool to get several emails from people last night that agreed with me. Now, I did get some people that disagreed with me, but the vast majority of people that sent me emails last night on that subject of whether or not KVD was relevant or irrelevant, it was probably about 99% that he still remained relevant and will be relevant for a long time. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. He's still relevant. And, I mean, it's kind of like a couple of years ago when he won those 2 tournaments in the same year. Everybody thought that he was kind of on the downhill slope, and he basically said, yeah, I'll show y'all.
Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully,
that would be cool to see that happen again.
It would be. And hopefully, I think a lot of the young anglers out there, hopefully they will appreciate what Kevin has done over his career and really during a period where it was really, really hard. And I think that's the one thing that people don't understand is he was dominating when the competition was probably the best that it has ever been in professional fishing. So we'll see, man. Yeah, I see they're on the score tracker. He's in the lead right now, but a lot of time left. But if there's anybody out there that thinks that KVD cannot still throw a spinnerbait or a crankbait, they're out of their mind.
Oh, yeah. And Lake Eufaula, I mean, that is a spinnerbait lake. And as warm as it's been, if he makes it through the knockout round, which I think he will,
you're
just going to see that bite get better and better. And there's a potential to see some guys bed fishing by tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah, I agree. You ever been to Eufaula? Have you ever fished there?
Oh, yeah, I fished there several times a year.
Is it cool to watch these guys and see what they're doing? Is there anything that you can take away from it?
Absolutely. I mean, yesterday I was watching and I saw Fletcher Shryock. He was fishing in a creek that I love to fish in. And it's cool seeing guys fishing in places where you've seen before but haven't ever really thought about fishing there.
Yeah.
Or like I saw Jacob Wheeler catch one on a brush pile that I had never fished before, but I had fished up against the bank in that same general area. And he caught one of his better fish on a brush pile just out from there yesterday. So it's pretty cool to see that.
Yep. All right, man. I appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, man. Great show. Y'all
All right.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks, man. Take care. All right. There you have it. That was nice of him to give me a call and help me out there. We're still waiting on Dean, but we have Chris in New Hampshire. Let me have him in. Chris, you there, man?
Yeah, hold on. Sorry. Turn the mic back.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. We're still waiting on Dino to get his internet situation taken care of. So I appreciate you coming on board. What are your thoughts so far after 2 days of action and now they're down to 20?
I like it. When I first started watching MLF, I wasn't a big fan of it. But now that it's been going on for a while, I get more into it. I wish they had they need to get the fantasy fishing thing worked out, though. Because
100%.
That's what draws me into Bassmaster every weekend. I'm looking at my chart, trying to see where I am, and then they don't do it. It just, I don't know. It seems like such an easy thing to figure out, and I think they're missing the ball on it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. A lot of speculation out there as to whether or not they are trying to work a deal out with one of the fantasy sports outlets, be it DraftKings or what's the other one? I can't remember.
I don't know. I use
FanDuel.
Oh, right. Yeah.
FanDuel is the other one. So we'll see if that comes to fruition next year.
Yeah, I use DraftKings in New Hampshire. That's what we have here. So.
Yeah. The other thing is too is whether or not I think you are dead on because you just said it right there that fans become engaged in what is taking place when they have some type of skin in the game, be it, made up skin or actual skin. We'll see.
On the Bassmaster fantasy, at least you get a chance to win prizes and stuff like that from all the sponsors, and it makes it draws you in. I mean, who doesn't want to win something? I mean, even if you don't win nothing, it's still cool to say, hey, I was number one.
I'm with you. All right, we had a phone call. They brought up the subject matter that I got a little upset about yesterday, the relevancy of Kevin Van Dam, and here he is leading right now in period one. Do you agree or disagree with the statement that KVD is irrelevant in today's game.
No, I disagree with it. He's going to be relevant forever. I mean, he's just like I feel like he's like a Bill Dance or a Jimmy Houston. He's that big of a name that you won't forget about him 20 years from now or 30 years from now.
Yeah. It's just a mind-boggling statement and thought process if people truly think that the initials is not relevant in today's game. And I got news for you folks. He's not done. He's not going anywhere. He's going to keep doing it. And there's still a lot of game left in Kevin Van Dam. And we talked about it yesterday, and the fact that let's see here. I just got a message from Dean. The situation with him leading and being able to continue the process to winning once again, I think the vast majority of fans are into the fact that he's got a shot at winning this thing.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, we have our next guest here. We're going to bring him in. Let's see here. Luke, you there, man?
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
All right, man. Thanks for joining the party. Greatly appreciate it. And unfortunately, you're not fishing today, but I thought it would be very cool, and I'm sure the fans would greatly appreciate just some insight on what your thoughts are on what went down 2 days on Lake Eufaula. So what can you tell us, man?
You know, it's been a really tough fishery, as everybody's seeing right now. Things are kind of in a funk. It's been cold. The water came up. It really has been a grind for me, and not only me. You know, there's guys that look like they caught him. I room with Brian Thrift, so after I got eliminated, he can tell me what he's doing, but I can't tell him anything. Hearing the story about everything that's went down with him, he's not as confident as I guess everybody thinks he's going to go out and just smash him. You know, he definitely knows this lake better than anybody, but even him doesn't have it as figured out as what a lot of people think. It's definitely changing by the moment, and you see, I just watched a little bit of live this morning, and you see guys like Andy Montgomery. He's smashing them both mornings, and he goes out there and unable to get a bite. Things are changing the whole time, and there's just not a lot of fish that are up in a place that they're really easy to target right now. There's guys catching them in the very backs of creeks with the very first few that have moved up, and there's guys out catching them on brush and offshore stuff too. So a little bit all over the board, and that's really typical of events that are fairly tough, that people catch them a lot of different ways because there's not a lot of bites to be had any one way.
Luke, what was your biggest challenge this week?
Catching fish.
Well, duh, but I mean, come on, why didn't you catch fish?
Oh, you know, in practice I went up the river, and it was kind of like spurts, and you feel like you're onto something. And in practice, we had our one day of practice, I went way up the river, and I had 3 bites in the first half hour I was up there. I thought, man, this is going to be pretty easy. They're biting. And 4 hours later, I had another bite. So the first day of the event, I run down the lake and fish some stuff that I fished last time when I was here. And, you know, it just never really happened. I caught 1 fish at the end of the day. I caught a few shorts throughout the day, but there's just not a lot of fish up. And, you know, again, things are changing so much. If I had to go out today, I can't tell you I think I could go and catch one over here. I should have done this. Usually you leave an event saying, man, I wish I would have done more of this. I honestly don't know right now. Yesterday I caught 4 fish in the second period, which was a lot for one period for me especially, and really thought I had something figured out going out to the main lake, fishing some steep laydowns, stuff that has a lot of deep water close, catching fish that were suspended in the tops of those laydowns. And then I went the whole third period and never had a bite doing it in 2.5 hours.
Wow.
It's really hard to get any momentum, get things going when there's not a lot of bites, and it seems so inconsistent right now.
Wow. If you had to do anything different, what would you go back and change? Nothing, or do you think you truly had the right game plan?
I would go more on the side of everything, considering I didn't make it. But I can't say definitively right now. I mean, I think you just have to go out fishing again. I wish I would have spent more time offshore, but there's a lot of guys fishing offshore that aren't catching them either. It's not like there's a magic decision here that's being made by any one person that's making it look easy. You know, I guess if anything, I wish I would have went somewhere I'd never been before the first day of the tournament and not try to fish memories of where I caught some fish last time, but rather go and just fish blindly and try to let intuition take over a little more and make better decisions that way.
That's an interesting statement, Luke. How often does it turn out this way where you fish history? In other words, what has been your experience over your career fishing history? Has it helped you or hurt you more?
Oh, it's definitely hurt me fishing history. When I first started fishing back in 2004, I remember I would go practice for 3 days or whatever it was back then. And it seemed like inevitably I really sucked the first day. And I would go the next day and I'd just make a decision to go and run and fish something I'd never been to before. And I had some of the biggest stringers of the events doing it on those days. Just going, and I'd catch nearly nothing the first day, just going blindly to those areas. Your mind's so much more open. It's easy to make those right decisions when you've never been to a place before. When you run around and want to fish, I've caught one over here. I caught one doing this. I think you're a little bit closed-minded to what's going on. And for me anyway, it makes it easier to fish places I've just never seen, don't have any preconceived notions.
I don't know. Can you see the feed? Can you see what we're looking at right here on your phone? Well, they had a shot of what Kevin was doing, and obviously Kevin was fishing shallow. Is it just, especially this time of the year, was timing the big factor, Luke? Because it seemed like so many times early when the water is gradually warming up, and with the fact that we've had just record-breaking low temperatures in the south and really all across the country, was it just being in the right place at the right time?
I think there's definitely some of that. Even with 40 guys, the lower end of this lake, where a lot of the field was fishing, is fishing fairly small. There's only a few backs of creeks, places that those initial fish are going to move up. The first places you're going to see them move up shallow is generally back in the backs of those pockets and creeks that are protected. That water's getting warmer quicker than anywhere else. And there's only a few places like that. So you end up with 2 or 3 boats a day rotating through a lot of those. I don't know where Kevin's fishing, but I would suspect that he hasn't had a tremendous amount of pressure around him in those areas.
He was getting a phone call. That's what happens when you get a phone call.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you're good.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I don't know where I cut out there, but yeah, I was just saying, Kevin, he obviously has found a place that they are moving up shallow quicker than other places, or else that there's just not the pressure. A lot of these creeks in this lower end where a lot of the field was, we're seeing 2, 3, 4 boats fishing through the same stuff, and a fish is moving up and getting picked up pretty quick. The population isn't really allowed to build in that grass of easy fish anyway.
Yeah. All right, man. We're going to let you get back to taking care of business. What's next for you, Luke?
Rayburn's next, but I'm going to go today, and we have a bunch of interviews, and we'll do some filming and stuff like that over the next few days. And we have Rayburn in a few weeks as our stage 1, I guess, for the MLF season. Yeah. Well, best of luck to you, man. We appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk about what you did the first couple of days, and wish you nothing but the best when you kick off the season at Rayburn, man. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, man. Take care.
All right.
All right, there you have it, folks. Luke Clausen. I think we have Dino now. Let's check and see. Dean, you there?
I'm here, Mark. I'm here.
All right, let's go horizontal. Can you turn the phone horizontal? Let's see if that will. Nope, you've got your screen locked.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. Look, we're good. We're good
until the break. Let's roll to the break, and then we'll go.
We'll go with that. Man, did you see who was leading this thing? They're running commercials now. We'll go back to the feed here shortly. I know you were doing it, but right now, KVD at the top of the leaderboard, man.
Well, that's no surprise. That's a pit viper, and I heard you guys talking about it. If he's slowed down at all, that man is
relevant.
Not slowed down. He
relevant was the word.
Relevant. Okay, yeah. Well, he's always relevant. He's won a lot of cup events in this format, so he understands it. He knows what he needs to do. He's been on Eufaula many times, so the fact that he's leading it doesn't surprise me at all. Actually, a lot of guys that I know, they could be leading, it doesn't surprise me. They're great anglers, but the fact that Kevin is at the top of the leaderboard is no surprise.
Yeah, we just interviewed Luke Clausen, and we talked a little bit about timing and being in the right place at the right time, especially early in the spawn, pre-spawn, whatever you want to call it. The weather has been brutal in the south. It's, the cold temps at night and everything. How much, and I asked him this, how much the timing of just being in the right place at the right time plays into that? And Dean, is that luck?
I don't think it's luck. I think that you have to recognize that to be able to know that there's a certain window there, or the timing has to be right. There's so many times where, you go down a stretch and you catch one or two of them, turn around, come back, nothing, go around, go back, right back down, nothing. And you leave and you come back 2 or 3 hours later, you catch a couple, but you take that and then you mix it in with what you're doing on the lake, and that, what you say luck, I think that they're creating their own luck by going to those high percentage areas where they're at. This time of year, the water's cold, so there's little windows where they're going to bite, and and where you'll see on the leaderboard, you'll see 1 or 2 fish caught, but then all of a sudden you'll see a window where like 10 or 15 get caught. Mm-hmm. So there's that window there where they got active and they started to feed.
All right, we are back to the live action now, and we are on, Kevin. And you're very familiar with this body of water. What can you say about what it looks like that he's trying to target there, Dino?
It looks like he's on the secondary points. It looks like he's in the back of a creek. And I watched him yesterday on the live feed, and he's fishing like a little point that's coming up there. Those are like little staging areas for those females. And I don't know what his weight is right now. It's
5 pounds.
5 pounds. So it's just one or the two?
I think it's one. I think he caught a 5-pounder.
Well, that's a good one, man. You catch a 5-pounder like that. But, and that's early on. That's a good start. But he's fishing pre-spawn areas, which he's done many, many times. Of all the classics that I fished, and I was at every single one that he won. It's obviously in February when it's cold. So to watch him, at this point where they're in the pre-spawn mode, the water's still cold, it's warming up, getting to where it's at. This is in his wheelhouse. I mean, he knows exactly where he needs to be at and how to position to win the event. Obviously, like I said, he's won many of this style of fishing, on a cup events. So he knows.
Yeah, Dean, we see a little breeze. There's a little ripple on the water. How important is wind, or how detrimental is wind when they are in the stage that they're in right now?
Well, when you saw on the first day, the morning was overcast. It was, a lot of wind. The front was moving through. The fish were active. Yesterday, flat water, bright skies, and you saw the weights really didn't go much up on the, the cut line. So when you have wind, like you have right now, and they have another front coming in, but the weather coming in, that is a positive thing. So I think you're going to see a lot more fish catches today. Obviously, the guys are not going to lay off their fish. They're going to their juice right now because they got to get to the front as quickly as they can and stay in that top 5 to where they don't get eliminated. It's all about moving on to the final round. I mean, it's all about finishing 5th or 1st. It really doesn't matter. You're in. That's all that matters.
All right, the action, for the most part, very, very slow this morning. Would you think that this is typical based upon the conditions that these guys are facing on this top 20 field?
That and time of year. I mean, it's very difficult. Unless there's a front coming in that gets them charged up to want to bite. When you see this is standard procedure. I mean, with this time of year, they'll get going, especially if the wind starts to blow. Position the bait a little better on the bank. Those guys fishing shallow, and the water temperatures will be warming. I mean, it got almost to 70 yesterday. You hear some of the guys talk about water temperature right at 60, high 50s. Man, that is prime deal. And they had not a night like last night, which didn't get as cold as the night before, but it's setting up to be a really good showdown this afternoon.
All right, we just saw Mark Davis land one there. We see guys fishing shallow. We see them fishing out. What would be your tactic, Dino? And I know that's a very hypothetical situation, but based upon the conditions that you've seen, how would you attack this body of water?
It's funny you should say that, Mark, because my wife asked me the same exact question yesterday as I'm watching the live feed. She's like, what would you have done? And
I did not speak with her.
No. And what's interesting about that is I look at it and I have eyes that have seen what everybody else is doing, and they're catching them all different ways. You've got Fred throwing a frog. You've got, Kevin Van Dam throw a lot of bladed jig type stuff, and a lot of guys fishing outside docks. Some guys saying we need to be in the back of the pocket. You need to be way up the river. You need to be here and down by the dam. I mean, it's a hodgepodge. It's when I look at it, I'm like, man, what would I really be doing? But until you're on that body of water and you're listening to, what your intuition is on there, telling you where you need to be and what you need to do or change conditions and so forth, and watching the leaderboard, and the score tracker is such a neat tool to if you're in an area and you see guys that are fishing around, what they're catching and what they have. So that will help in your decision making, whether you should be doing something different or change areas. So many times if I knew I was in an area where guys were not catching, I just leave. I mean, there's no sense in going there, because obviously it's not happening here. So we need to, keep moving and evolving. And so that is another decision that is made on the water, do you want to be on a windy bank? Do you want to be on a calm bank? Do you want to be where the pinrose and the pennyworts, all that stuff? So you got to look at all that stuff, or do I want to be on an outside hunt? And fishing deep really doesn't mean fishing deep. I mean, you could be fishing offshore and fish 5 feet of water.
Yeah,
on some of the islands and some of the brush piles and so forth. So, watching those guys yesterday, your Jacob Wheelers, your Brian Thrifts, that you can see in the background, they're in open water, but it may be only 5 feet where they're throwing at 6 feet. So, it's a lot of it. It's easy to play quarterback right now when you're looking at all the guys, but it's a whole different aspect when you're on the water. Trying to figure it out for yourself and not knowing how they're catching them and so forth. So it's constant battle.
All right, man. We have a second special guest. We're going to go to Fletcher now. Fletcher, you there, man?
What's up, guys? How's it going? Sorry, I'm a couple minutes.
Hey, it's going well, man. Thanks for taking time out to join the party. I know a little bit tough on you being in the cut and then suddenly being outside of the cut with the actions that were taken by who caught that fish?
Michael Neal.
Michael Neal, the last. Yeah. So for you to come on and talk about that, man, I give it up to you.
Thank you. No, it's honestly at the end of it, I'm more mad at myself because in the last 10 seconds I had one. I don't know. So it was probably a 3, 4, 5 pounder. And I wasn't focused, it's kind of final countdown, seconds remaining. And I always seem to have some sort of a buzzer beater at the end of these things. It seems like I always somehow put myself in a position like that. On day one, I caught a 3 something in the last 20 seconds, but I wasn't focused in that last 10 seconds. And that's probably the part that bothers me the most. You have to fish these deals all the way to the end. And I didn't do that. I didn't capitalize on that last bite, so that's on me. That's the tough part.
All right. Besides the situation that occurred right before the clock went off, you still got us? You still got us, Fletcher?
Yeah, it's breaking up real bad.
Yeah, your cell signal's a little weak. Yeah, you good? You good?
Let me try to check back in. I'll use my other line. I'll be right back.
All right, sounds good. All right. We'll check back with him right now. But crushing situation. But once again, man, that's just the environment, Dino, and things can happen like that at the buzzer.
And I've been on the receiving end of both that, and it's hard to explain to people the emotion and the stress and the anxiety and everything that's going on in that last 5 minutes. And watching Fletcher yesterday, he changed spots 3 times within the last 5 minutes. You know, and I was like, "Whoa, man, slow down." I mean, I probably would approach it a little bit different, but I don't know, where he's at and what water he's fishing. But that last 5 minutes, you need to be like, having your bait in the water, not running down the lake, so
yeah,
you can do that on the way back. But obviously he felt like he needed to be somewhere, and it ended up almost paying off for him.
Yeah. All right, let's go. I think we have him again. Let's go back to him. Fletcher, you there, man?
Yeah, because this better? I apologize.
Oh, much better.
Yeah.
Much better.
Good deal.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I heard Dean there. I think Dean, was you referencing me running around a lot in the last remaining minutes?
Yeah, that was. I was like, Fletcher, stop and just fish. I mean, you've got 5 more minutes, but I didn't know where the area you're at, and obviously you made the right choice because you went to a spot and got bit. I mean, I watched the whole thing there at the end, and I was pulling for you because I was like, man, come on! And when you set the hook on it, and then that was the end of it. It was 30 seconds to go, and that was it. Lines were out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. No, I kind of fished a lot of the same water that I felt was productive twice at that point. So I went back in a place where there was not much in the water at all. And I don't want to just have my line in the water and go winding down a bank that I don't feel was productive. I would rather have 2 casts or 2 flips be productive and run for 5 minutes to do that than I would just wind down the bank just to say that I'm fishing, So there wasn't much covering that creek, but the day before I remember ended up way back in there, and I saw that wood, and I said, I know there's a big one in there too. You know what I mean? Like, it just looked too good. The water was flowing clean out of the creek back there, and like I said, I just wasn't ready for that bite. I try to leave my emotions at the ramp in these deals, and that deal towards the end, thinking that I was in, I just wasn't ready for that bite. That's the most disappointing part. But yeah, I ran around a lot yesterday. I started at the dam, worked my way about 15 miles up the river from takeoff and all the way back down in several places in between. So I ran a lot, but I was just looking for high percentage areas to try to catch one here, one there, run into a few of them. So
yeah, it looked like you were able to do that because the score tracker wasn't moving a whole lot. I mean, you had your top 10 guys that were up there, and then you had the top 10 in the cut line, and I think that opened the opportunity for you to do that. I think I would have done the same thing because it enabled you to move around because the score tracker really wasn't doing much at that time.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing too, I have to keep in mind, I stayed up, I lost a lot of sleep that night just trying to think, because I had nothing. Like the area that I went to the first day, I probably caught a dozen under 2 pounds. And I thought that place was going to go off because I figured Eufaula, you're going to get 1 out of every 2 is going to be a 2+ pounder. And for every one of them to be short like that, we're fishing for 300 grain. So, yes, did I run around a bunch and have the chance of not making the cut? Absolutely. But at the same time, I have to try to find an area or find something different to put myself in position to try to win. Had I run up the river and it worked up there, shoot, I might have slipped into the cut, made it the knockout round, and who knows, end up winning the tournament. I could have just put the trolling motor down and just tried to make the cut. But at the end of the week, I had to do what I felt to make myself feel good about trying to win $300,000. I know that's a long shot, but that's what I had in my mind, and that's why I ran around so much and tried so much, hoping to run into them for the big picture goal.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, you guys only had 1 day of practice there. You're coming off of a big cold front, and all that's changing and evolving. And with the lake changing, it seemed like every day it was changing. It's hard. I understand what you're saying, and it makes it difficult.
All right. We do have a viewer, a BTL fan on. Chris, do you have a question for Fletcher or Dean?
Either one of you. Just curious, like with the water falling so much and then the cold weather, you think that kept the temperatures down in the lake to affect how you guys are fishing?
Fletcher?
Yeah, there was actually a few different things going on. We had falling water. We had the cold front. And we had water cleaning up from where we were in practice. In practice, there was areas that were blown out. I think the area that I ended up catching several fish out of was blown out in practice. So you have falling water, muddy water that's clearing, and cold, the cold nights and things like that. So it was really hard to keep, your thumb on the pulse of what was going on because it's literally changing by the day, So That's why I thought moving around was such a big key, but it didn't work out. Go ahead, Dean.
Well, it's anytime you have falling water on a river system, man, they just, especially when they want to get up there, it makes it tough. And with it going in and up and down like it is, and like this morning it's up compared to what it was yesterday. It's something that when you have an influx of cold water coming in, it's going to cool everything down. With them sucking all that water out, the warmest water is on the top, so all that's going to get flushed through the system. So it takes longer for it to heat up when it's moving like that.
Yeah.
All right, Fletcher, I don't know if you can see the shot that we're looking at right now of Zach Burge, but some of the stuff that he's hitting right now, how much stuff did you target that looked very similar to what Zach is targeting?
I know a lot of these guys, it looks like he's fishing offshore brush from what I can tell. Am I correct on that, Mark?
Somewhat, yeah. There's a little secondary area where there's a bunch of brush on it. Not right on the bank, maybe a little underground peninsula thing that kind of goes out a little bit with some brush on it, that kind of stuff.
I got you. Yeah, it's funny. I fished a lot of that stuff, that had some shallow grass and things like that back in those places with a swim jig and a chatterbait. And honestly, over the course of 3 days, I kept it honest in practice that first day. Never had a bite on that stuff. So it's funny how you can miss those things. But honestly, a lot of guys kind of know I'm not the best flipper and pitcher on earth, but that's what I feel most comfortable doing. And I stuck with that for the most part. I think the biggest thing that killed me more so than the water clarity in the cold was just the water falling, and it was just not quite enough to put them fish up there and comfortable in the mats and things like that. I think that falling water, what I notice a lot of times, especially on a place like this, that falling water, they seem to move to hard cover whenever that water's falling. When the water's stable or rising, they get up in the grass and stuff a lot better. So I started off the second day on cypress trees, and I caught a 3-something and then a 5-14 within minutes apart, on the outer part of the cypress knees, because that water falling out had obviously pushed them out there. So that was the biggest challenge for me, was that water falling, and it really plays into those guys' hand, that are fishing offshore, and some of that outer stuff, if they're able to find them fish that are out, that benefits them big time.
All right, man. On to Rayburn, right? What are your thoughts on that?
That's going to be a fun one. I think that's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that for sure. I've spent a lot of time on that lake there that time of year, or a fair amount of time, so it's going to be fun, I think, for everyone.
All right, man. Tough situation, but glad to see that you're doing okay, and wish you nothing but the best when you guys kick things off at Rayburn.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I'd love to be on the show sometime.
All right, we'll do it, man. Definitely get you on, but thanks for taking time out, and be careful, man.
No worries. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Good show,
See
Fletcher. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
There you have it. Man, that's a tough situation, Dino. It really is.
Yeah, I know. It's when you lived it a bunch of times, like he's talking about, he had a different mindset on how he wanted to approach the event to win.
Yeah.
And like I said, there are times where you just, yes, that is the ultimate goal, but you have to take these steps to get to that goal. So with that way of thinking, I think I would have, and this is me personally, I would have try to get enough to get into the next round and give yourself a chance. But with him getting that bite in the last, minute or two, he felt that was the right thing to do. And it could have went the other way very easily if he'd have landed that fish. So that's the dynamic of, the score tracker and the time you have, and everything that's weighing on that, the elimination line, all of that is weighing on you, and it affects you in your decision making out there on the water. And it's so different from a 5-fish format where you have time to think, relax, kind of move around a little bit, wander over here, wander over there, because you have that time. Not here. I mean, you have to catch them, and it changes a lot of your approach on how, and your bait selection for that matter, to where it's going to get you to the next round.
All right, man. We got to talk.
Because you never know.
I know. I know. No, you're right. Now, what about that structure that Dudley was fishing right there?
The boat?
Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Dino?
Well, it looks like it's seen its better day on the water, but
no, hang on a second. Let me back up a minute. The situation from a pattern standpoint, with the fish being in the stage that they're in, I mean, is that really the type of structure that fish are going to get up to when the water temp is still low and they're nowhere, near coming out and really getting on a good spawn yet? What are your thoughts? And he went away. I stumped him, Chris. Man, his feed was really good.
I know. It amazes me with I live in the Northeast, so I have gigabit speed, and it amazes me that people in the other part of the country just don't have that.
I know. All right, he's back now. Let's bring him back in. All right, you're back. What'd you get, a phone call?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
But
all right,
I know we're on Mark Davis right now, but going to David Dudley, if you looked at the background where he's fishing, there is nothing on that bank but that broken down boat.
Yeah.
So if there's going to be one, especially like right now where there's high skies and not a lot of shade, it's going to be right there on that dock. So it looks like it's main lake or at the entrance of a creek mouth. So, I would fish it. I mean, obviously, he caught him on there yesterday on that type of docks and everything. So it kind of goes with his pattern.
I don't know if he's in the same area fishing, but he's caught a couple here back to back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's like Kevin Van Dam. He's been there a lot and he knows how to win. And Mark is just, when he gets around him, he just slows down. Typical Mark, and really can break it down and catch him. And gosh, he has beat me like a drum a lot of times when I'm fishing around him, and he's just sitting there casting the same spot. And but it's cool to see him make it to the elimination round, and hopefully he'll get enough to make it to the championship round. It'd be fun to see all the big hammers up there.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt and I talked about it yesterday. Things are setting up that it could be an iconic final day if things work out a certain way with some of the seasoned veterans finishing in the top of the leaderboard. So we'll see on that. All right, Dino, I have to ask this. Several questions on this. We actually saw some footage before we went live of Fred Urbanus throwing a frog. Now, I don't know what the water temps are. And you and I kind of discussed that a little bit, but seriously, if the water temps in the low 50s, upper 40s, can you catch him on a frog?
Yes, and that's probably the one of the major questions I get is, what's the coldest water you've ever caught a fish on a frog? And that was at the Bassmasters Classic on Lay Lake. It was 44 degrees. And that was a deal where I could see him up there, and they were up there moving around. And the days were like this. They were getting sunny, and it was getting warm, and it was rolling in. We were coming off a huge cold front. And but Lake Eufaula is a great frog lake. So those fish that live shallow, mainly the ones that you see that he was fishing with, looked like he was in the Witch's Ditch, up in that area, is very flat. It's predominantly area that they go up and spawn, and it's filled with lily pads, pennywards, pinrose. I mean, it's got a lot of froggy type stuff that you want to throw at. The thing I felt intriguing yesterday is watching him throw that his frog is the way he didn't move the boat. He just stayed in one spot. But when you look at where the boat was positioned, there was a little ditch right there. Okay, that went back into probably a little pocket back there. So today, when you watch him this morning, the water's come up. So now he's actually in the ditch, moving back up in there. So there's obviously fish that are moving in there. And he said it yesterday. He goes, these are not the fish to win with. But that's what the frog does to you. It messes you up in a lot of ways because it's so cool to catch him on it and to be relevant, but I don't think there's enough fish in that area that will take him to winning. I could be wrong, because if a front comes in, they'll all start feeding, but you see where he was parked and the way he was breaking every piece of cover down, making multiple casts to certain pockets, and getting them to bite and commit to it. But you also watch a lot of them punt it and punch it out of the water, and he'd miss them, which is typical for this time of year. And the fact that that he got some to actually bite it is good. I mean, because you're going to have that. But this time of year, they're just wanting to just not really eat it. They're just wanting to hit it, and that's typical all the way through the spawn, where they're just trying to get it out of the area. But yesterday, watching him fish, you could see where the water's drawn down, where those fish were probably just laying in that ditch there. And just a matter of the timing thing, like we talked about earlier, is the timing right for them to start feeding? Those bites he had were in the afternoon yesterday when the water got warm. So, but that could change overnight if it gets cloudy and overcast. He'll crush them on a frog. You'll crush them on a buzzbait. I mean, you will. Where that area he's at in Witch's Ditch. I mean, there's a big fish in that area.
All right, Chris, any questions?
Nothing at the moment.
Okay, I saw you were unmuted, so I didn't know.
Oh.
All right, I'm looking at KVD right now, Dino. Fairly commonplace that a lot of people fish on any lake that has bridges and riprap. Some people may be shocked to see, like, oh, well, he's doing the same thing that I do this time of the year all the time on my lake. I mean, common things are good, though, aren't they?
Yeah, if it works, Mark, why you want to change?
I know.
It's sometimes we look too much into it, and it's simple. It's bass fishing, and bass like rocks. They like they like crawdads. They like being where things are channeled down, where the water's running through. They don't have to go far for the food to come to them. And Kevin, I have fished many of riprap banks with Kevin Van Dam in the past because I love to fish riprap. And the great thing about that is it's, especially this time of year, is whenever you have those type of structures, there's deep water real close by. So the fish can come in and out, and random, throughout the day. They could be there in the morning on a morning feed, and they could be there in the afternoon and the wind starts blowing on it and, pushing bait up against the bank. So it's always a high percentage area to fish, especially this time of year when you're in pre-spawn. Not maybe so much in the spawn, but it's also great during when the shad's spawning. They get up on the rocks. You can crush them on riprap banks and on the concrete pillars where the highways are at, like you see Kevin fishing right now. So he probably started on the point, moved his way, moving towards the bank. It's going to get shallower as he gets closer to the bank there. But a lot of times they'll sit in that transition point where it goes to rock and then to natural earth, or a lay down or so forth. So, but it usually gets real shallow in those little bend pockets there. So if there's one up there, it's a great spot for him to catch one, because a lot of times that's where the warmest spot's going to be because the sun's hitting it. There's no wind, there's no current going by it, so it can heat up very, very quickly.
All right, a couple of frog questions, Dino. I hope you don't mind answering. Jeffrey wants to know, can Dean expand on when and if you might use a rattle in your frog?
So with the rattling thing it's a good thing, and I like that people add and take things away from the frog, because that's what it's all about. It's customizing, you having fun with the bait because it's such a fun bait to throw. Yeah. With rattles, we've always gone back and forth, Spro, working on new frogs, and we've got 3 new ones coming. I mean, we got some great stuff coming down the pipeline, and one of them is going to incorporate a rattle. But the big thing that we've always tried to work on and to keep in mind is our high hookup ratio is on our sport bonsai frog. So we want to make sure that we don't impede or hurt the hookup ratio. So whenever you add something inside the cavity of the frog, then it decreases the amount of the bait compressing into where the hooks will get out of the bait will get out of the way and the hooks will hook up into the fish. So we feel like we've come up with a system that's going to be able to do that. And we've looked at different things about putting rattles on the legs, and taking the skirt out and just modifying that. There's a lot of people that they cut the legs off, and do a lot of different things. And I see all sorts of different ways that people have modified their frogs. And I think it's the coolest stuff ever, because, you're actually changing something that's already a good existing baseline, and fixing it and suiting it to what you're fishing, if you're fishing pads or if you're fishing matted vegetation. Our frog isn't great for everything, but if you can make some changes to it and adapt to it, and make it work for you, that's awesome. And that's what we always look at as Spro, is building something, a great foundation that you can build off of things that you can customize as well. So with the rattles, it's do you put tungsten in there? Do you put glass? Do you put, lead? And you put, there's so many different things. And, how much sound do you want? How much is too much, and, so it's a constant dance with trying not to affect the action of the bait, because the more stuff you attach to that bait, the more it affects the action, whether it wants to, dive in or sit, tail in the water. So you really got to find the balance there. And that's what we're working on. And, with us, we want to make sure it's right. We take time when we go ahead and design a bait and bring it out, it's right. I mean, it went through the paces, and it is right. So, and it's no different with the rattles as well.
All right, there you have it. Now, Fred actually did get some action yesterday toward the end of the day, and let's see, who wants to know? Somebody wanted to know, why did he not follow it up? And how often, when you miss one on a frog, is it good to follow it up?
Well, because a lot of times this year, a follow-up bait, it's quicker to throw the frog back in there than it is to stop, put it down, and then make a cast, which usually ends up in a backlash because you've been chucking the frog for the last 2 hours. So you end up missing it or side by side. It's almost easier just to cast the frog back in there. What I was interested about yesterday is watching him is how quickly he was working the frog. And and that's the thing about it, is so many guys have different ways of how they work the bait. Me personally, I would have slowed it down and enticed them and dared them to get him. So but maybe that was the only way he can get a bite, is working it fast. Maybe here he tried to work it slow. A follow-up bait is always on my deck when that is happening too. So, and I a lot of times this time of year, I use the frog as a search bait, because a lot of the blowups that you get, they don't get the frog. They punt it, or they hit it like a piñata. I mean, they blow it out of the water, but they never take it, And so, but the cool thing about that is it shows you where those fish are at. So you can go down the bank and come back. You hit a waypoint where he blew up, and then you could pitch something else in there because you know where he's at, especially in the springtime, because a lot of times those are spawning bass, and they're just trying to get it out of the area. They not necessarily want to eat it. They do, but most of the time they just want to punt it. And man, I'll just give you a perfect example of that. We fished that tournament up in Grand Lake years back, the one that Mike McClellan won, and I went way up the river. Up by the bridge up there, I mean way up there. Yep. And there was a backwater back there, and I got back in there, and I had the biggest explosions of bass. I watched them come up and eat it, 4 or 5 pounders, and all they would do was just knock it out of the water and throw it in the tree. I mean, and I would pitch everything I could in there, they would never bite, and it was the most frustrating thing, because I had the bites to really do it, but a lot of times they never even open their mouth. They just hit it. And, a lot of people think, oh, well, I the frog, and we missed them on the bite and everything. Well, a lot of times they never even eat it. They just hit it with their tail, or, they boil on it, or they punt it, So they have to open their mouth for you to, to eat the bait for you to have a chance to catch them. So, but it's a great search bait. You can cover a lot of water with it, and you can find those fish that are aggressive and want to eat.
Chris, did you have a question?
No, I was gonna say I do the rattles. No, I use rattles inside of not worms but lizards. Sometimes I shove them in between the hook, where I mount the hook and the hook on the lizard to the hook, kind of like when I for like a weedless setup on an offset hook, and it works really well.
Yep.
All right, I don't know what that shot is. I don't know if that's well, yeah, I know. I wonder if that's like, is that the Palestine? Yeah.
That would have been fun. Try to back the boat in on the ice.
Yeah,
we've done that. The classic there at Grand and at Artwell, when it was 11 degrees out when we went out for that one. That was a wild day there. Oof.
There was a shot, and it's unfortunate because I tried to pause it, and these aerial shots are really, really good, because you can actually see some of the structure. And I'm not talking laydowns. I'm talking grass or little pods of structure that these guys are fishing. Let me see if I can pause it right here. Can I pause it? Come on, pause. There. See this right here, Dino? Can you see my mouse?
Yep.
All right. Is that the juice when these conditions exist, or is it more out on these little point areas? Or is it inside the cuts? Which typically should the fans target when they have this kind of situation?
Well, this looks like the Witch's Ditch area to me, and that whole area is real flat. So you could be in 2 feet of water in 100 yards of it, from you to the bank. So it's very difficult at times. We have the luxury of looking at it from an aerial view and seeing what you're seeing here. When you're on the water, you can't see that. You can see maybe 15% of that, and all you're seeing is the darker shades where the grass could be, or there's some pennywort in there, or a couple strands, a penrose over here, whatever it might be. You have to be able to break it down and fish it all, because you don't know if where they're at. So basically, coming in here, I probably would have hit the first island right there, and kind of fish around there, because that's going to give them shade and cover in that aspect, and then just kind of broaden your what you're going to bait selection in the area itself. As you can see, the water was a lot clearer there than it was, in the main river channel. So that area in there, obviously there'll be a lot of sight fishing going on. The baits you want to use are a little more natural tone. You don't want to, throw anything that's too loud and gaudy. So you have to fish the conditions of what is calling for it. In that situation, you could throw a multitude of lures. As long as you knew they were in there, you could slow down, and throw a trick stick in there and just kind of, a weightless deal and probably catch good weight there. It's just a matter of, but they have to be in there. And so they may or may not have been in there, at this time. So it's hard to say.
All right, let me ask you this, and this is kind of off base, but not really, because of the way that the water looks there in some areas. Is it easier to catch spawning fish in clearer water when you can see them than it is when you have muddy water and you can't see them, but you know that they're on the beds? Does that make sense, Dino?
It makes a lot of sense. Sometimes, we don't have a choice. They're either, in the muddy water, and most of the waters we fish are dirty. So if you have the luxury of fishing in clear water, the great advantage that you have there is you can actually see the attitude of the fish and how he is, or she is approaching the lure, or what's getting him fired up and what's not getting him fired up. You have that luxury, and to know that man, he's getting ready to bite. But in dirty water, you can make 5 pitches in there and go, man, he's not biting it, but he could be an inch away from it, getting ready to bite it. You wouldn't even know it. That's the hard part about sight fishing. But I feel like the fish that are spawning in dirtier water are more aggressive and are easier to catch, simply for the fact that, they can't get a good read on the bait either. It's not like it's clear where they can actually see what they're going to eat. I mean, they see it, they know it. This is just an object going by, or blur or something that they feel that is either, gone into the nest area where they want to protect, or 2, they want to eat something, or 2, just chase it out of the bed and swipe at it. So those 3 things, are all in play whenever you're fishing around muddy water. And, I can't tell you how many times I've hooked them on the outside. And you can't see it. You can't see them down there, but you can see them. You'll swipe at it, and you'll hook them in the cheek. You'll hook them in the back. You'll hook them on the side. And that's all about what I talked about with the frog. Is they're just trying to get it out of there and move it out of the way and scare it, and not wanting to take the bait. Now, if they actually ate the bait and got it in their mouth, then you're dialed in. They wanted to do that. But a lot of times you'll see them hooked outside the mouth, and they're just swiping at it.
All right, because there's so many lakes across the country that you just can't see them on the beds. I mean, you know that they're there, and you've got indications that they're there, but I always wondered what you thought, because you're such a great sight fishing angler, that do you like to look at them, or is it easier to actually catch those fish when they are spawning because they are more aggressive in the dirty water. So that's why I asked that.
Yeah. So the 2 times that I went over the 100-pound mark were on the Bass Elites was when I broke the record at Toho, and then the Santee Cooper event that Preston Clark did. Both those events, I watched every single one of those bass eat my bait.
Wow.
You know, there was no blind casting at all. I mean, I watched them eat my bait. And some of the most exhilarating and anxiety type times in my life when you're sitting there and you're watching an 8-pounder just getting ready to eat your bait, and knowing that when he eats it, you're either going to land him or you're gonna lose him. You know, I mean, it's either going to be a hero or a zero on this one. The beauty of fishing in dirty water is you can't see them. You know, so your anxiety is not that high on it, but what I like to do when I get in an area like that where I know they're spawning is to visually look at the area and just and think about, if I was a bass, you know, and I've seen thousands and thousands of beds, you know, how they're positioned. You know, there should be one right there. There should be one right there. You know, and so in your mind, I'm visually looking at a bed down there while I'm pitching and casting and flipping. And, you know, and it gives me the confidence and it gives me the know-how that all you do is get a bite and then it's done. Then you know exactly what to do at that point. But when you're searching, and that's the fun part is building it in your mind and creating where you think they are. And then you get a bite exactly what you thought. And that is the coolest thing ever. I mean, you're in tune at that point.
Yeah. All right, man, as we look at the scoreboard with just over 40 minutes remaining in the period, are you surprised that only 3 anglers have a scoreable bass, 3 out of the 10?
Yeah, I am, especially with you know, Jacob fishing out, and it looked like with Mark Davis fishing a little bit out. You know, it's just, I think it's going to be later on this afternoon. Again, it looks like they have the same conditions they had yesterday. Not a whole lot of wind, just bright skies. I think your flippers are going to be the ones that are going to do it today. You know, with Fletcher, listen to what he was talking about. He's getting a lot of bites. Andy Morgan had a 6-pounder yesterday, or 5-12, and you know, obviously flipping, I would imagine. And you know, I think that will play today. This, you know, the first period or two. But you know, the thing about it is, with nobody catching anything, and you know, the guys can move around because they're only one bite away from getting in. So you know, it's not that difficult. You can fish a little more freely at that point, but it's also, you're more antsy and want that bite because you know if it's a big one, you're gonna get on that leaderboard.
I mean, that stuff that Andy Morgan's fishing right now looks amazing.
Yeah, look how slow he's working the bait, and usually that's uncharacteristic of him. He's usually, you know, a couple times in there, you know, going down the bank, but you know, he's obviously on a piece of cover that he feels is in a prime spot, whether you had a bite along those banks. But just watch when he flips it in there. I know he's talking right now, but if you were to count how long that he's soaking that bait, and his hops are real small, they're not, you know, moving up and down, but he's working it in there. He's up and down, up and down. So these are the things that you when you're watching, and these are the little details inside, you know, what's actually happening, and you know, watching their cadence when they reel and how they're working the bait. All those little details are the key of why a lot of these guys are so successful.
Now, we've had a number of people say that when you get this time of the year, when it comes to the spawn, that the length of day is really more important than the water temp. And then we've had them say the opposite, that no, it's not the length of day, it's the water temp. What are your thoughts, Dino?
Well, there's a lot of theories on that, Mark. I mean, everybody has a theory on when they're going to come up and spawn. Oh, it's got to be on a full moon. Oh, it's got to have this. Oh, no, it's water temperature. No, that's falling water. They're not going to spawn. Dude, it doesn't matter. All that stuff doesn't matter. When it's more importantly, it's about the weather that is happening, the warming trend that gets them going. Unlike up north where the smallmouth spawn, where they do it in a 2-week window. It could be snowing and they're going to spawn. Okay, it's that magical week where that's the time they do it. It doesn't matter if the water temperature is 52 degrees or it's 50, or it's, it's right in the high 50s. It doesn't matter. It's that time when they go up and spawn, and then they're done in 2 weeks, and they all go back out, to deeper water. Well, it's different, in the South, and where we fish a lot, where a spawn can be 2-3 months, in that realm. So when I broke the record down in Florida, it had nothing to do with moon phases, okay? Because it was as black as a black sky could be. I mean, there was nothing. All you saw were stars. But the reason why that big movement of fish came in was because it was trending. The water temperature kept rising every day.
Yeah.
And so it balks the myth of it. They spawn on a full moon. Not to say they don't. They do. But it's not the end all be all that you have to go by that, because each lake is different geographically, wherever they're on the equator, for different elevations and so forth. All that plays into a factor. And I wouldn't be surprised if, last night or 2 nights ago, there's probably a couple more up there already. It's amazing how soon they get up there and they do their business and they get back out again. But on river systems, it's tough because the water fluctuations is so rampant, especially on Eufaula.
Yeah. All right, Chris, any questions?
No.
Okay, we're gonna wrap things up here pretty quick, Dino. Man, I greatly appreciate. I know we had some technical challenges that we overcome there, and what folks don't realize, we tell them all the time, we test this stuff, and when we test it, it works, and then things happen. So it is what it is. But your insight.
It seemed like, Mark, but as soon as we went to the live feed, it kind of had a little hiccup there. But I want to share with the fans of the amount of level that these guys are fishing at, and the battles that are going on in their mind of where they need to be at, what they need to do, all the while the clock is ticking. And I know that the score tracker is not lighting up right now, but when it does light up and you're not on the receiving end of catching bass, it is a very stressful time. And it's a time where you have to dig deep and try to overpower that. And if you don't experience that, it's very difficult to understand it on how you would feel and how you would react to it. So it's something that, people will, once you start fishing this format, you'll understand how these guys perform at this level and how impressive it is. Even it is for me watching them. I compete against them for the last 20 years. I love it. And, and to know that I get to fish against these guys every week is very enjoyable. It makes me tick. And so, and I know, cause I gotta be at my best. And so when you watch this, look at the little things when you're watching the live feed, and watch the cadences, and how slow or how fast they fish and how efficient these guys are, because that's where you're gonna get better as an angler is paying attention to these guys.
We just saw Zach Burge hook up there.
Yeah.
Slow rolling a spinnerbait around structure.
He caught a couple doing that yesterday. And what those are little islands out there, and they probably have little brush piles in and around them. Again, staging area, they're just sitting out there. They're coming off the river channel, setting up there before they go in the back of the creek. As you can see, he's casting out in the middle of the lake, but it really isn't. There's going to be probably a bar there, or a little rock or brush pile sitting out there.
Yeah, that's a cool way to catch them. It really is this time of the year. Very, very cool. All right, Dino, greatly appreciate once again your time and your insight on what's going down. And you got to be excited about Rayburn. I know that's one of your favorite places to fish, man.
Yeah, I have a MLF Pro Circuit event on Smith Lake in Coleman, Alabama in 2 weeks, so I'm excited about that. And then we go on to Rayburn for our first Bass Pro Tour event, where I'll catch up with the rest of the MLF gang, and I'm excited. It's I got a big schedule this year, fishing both sides. Ooh, he's got another one. That's awesome. And so, I feel great, and looking forward to a great year of fishing, and look forward to slugging it out with these guys. But thank you for having me on the show. It's always a joy and a pleasure.
Yeah, good stuff. It's ironic because Burge is from Blanchard, Oklahoma, which is where I coach and teach basketball, where we're trying to win a state championship. So it's kind of ironic to end the show with him catching a couple there. That's cool stuff. All right, Chris. Yeah, Chris, man, thanks for joining in.
Not a problem.
And Dino, we will talk soon. I want to thank Joe Opager for helping us out and having kind of coordinating the Luke Clausen and Fletcher interviews. So many thanks to them, and many thanks to MLF for allowing us to play the feed to where Dean can kind of give us some insight on what's going down. So tomorrow, breakfast with Matt and Bradley Hallman, 7:30 a.m. Central Time. 2 shows tomorrow, followed by at 8:30 a.m. Day 4 with Frank Scalish and all kinds of other stuff coming on the way on BTL. All right, Dino, man, I will talk to you soon. Be safe. Chris, take care. Thanks for being on. And folks, breakfast tomorrow, very early. We'll see you at 7:30 tomorrow. That's it. We're out of here.
Peace.